Previously on Lost.
Saeed is trying to get the transceiver to work, and he finally acquires a signal, and he's like, yes. But you see off camera, like someone takes a stick, you don't see who it is, and hits him on the back of the head and knocks him out. This is Lost Part 7. It's the episode entitled Confidence Man, and it's an episode about Sawyer. In all of Sawyer's flashbacks, you see that he is a con man. He basically finds rich women with husbands who are stupid, and tries to gain their confidence by making them invest in phony business arrangements and whatever. And the flashback is mostly about him trying to gain the trust of one of these women. And at the end of all the flashbacks, he's at their home, and he says, a kid comes into the living room, and he's like, the deal's off. And you get the idea that basically it's because the same thing happened to him when he was a kid. And Sawyer's highlights, he has just kind of like, God, it's so gross, long hair. Actually, it's kind of more like down here. But I don't want him to look like a woman. Sawyer is out in the jungle, and he hears something like close to where he's hidden all his stash out in some place. And Boone is like his stash is like in a, like, I don't know if he's got them hidden under leaves or whatever. Anyways, he comes and he's looking for stuff, and Sawyer finds him and then like beats him the hell up and like makes him all bloody. So he goes back to the caves and asks Jack. Oh no, he doesn't ask Jack. Jack's like, what's going on? He's like, Sawyer. Well, see, at the time, Saeed was being patched up because he got knocked out by whoever came behind him and hit him with the stick, and he's like, there was darkness and whatever. And Jack's like, did they smash the equipment? And he's like, yes. Anyway, Saeed's out to get whoever knocked him out and ruin their chance of finding the signal and getting off the island, blah, 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 blah. Shannon is asthmatic, we find out from Boone. And that's the reason he was going through through Sawyer's stuff, because he saw him with a book and figured that if he's got a book that was in their luggage, and if he figures he has that book, he must have gone through their luggage and must have Shannon's inhalers. Anyway, so they're trying to get the medication from Sawyer, and they try a couple times to ask him, do you have it? Where is it? And he's just resilient. Kate tells Jack, let me try, because he thinks we have a connection, and I'm pretty. Anyways, she goes and asks Sawyer, what do you want for the inhalers? And he's like, a kiss ought to do it. And she's like, okay, you're a pig, but, seriously, I know who you are, and there's a human being in there somewhere. And he's like, oh, really? You think you know me? Okay, bitch. Let's see if you know me after this, which I don't really understand, but he's been carrying around this, little letter, and every once in a while he pulls it out and reads it and gets, really somber. And he makes Kate read it aloud. And she's like, I don't want to read your damn nasty letter. And he's like, read it, Freckles. And so she reads it, and basically it's a note that says, it's from some little kid, and says, Dear Mr. Sawyer, you had sex with my mother, and my dad got mad at her, and then he killed her, and he killed himself. Okay. Meanwhile, Charlie decides to be the person that's, looking after Claire. And she's like, thanks, Charlie. And he's like, you should move off of the beach and up into the caves because there's more shade and it'll be better for the baby. And she's like, don't tell me how to raise my baby. Anyways, she's like, I only move to the caves if you can find me peanut butter. And he's like, okay, fine, I'll find you peanut butter if that's what you want, crazy pregnant woman. Saeed's questioning everyone about where they were at, and he goes to Locke and says, where were you? And he's like, oh, I was, with the boar, and we were having a special moment. But Locke basically tells Saeed, like, you know, why wouldn't it be Sawyer, because he's the only one that's really profited from the fact that we've crashed here and is hoarding everything like a rat and whatever. And so he gives Saeed a knife and is like, you know, in case there's a next time. Saeed goes to Jack and says, what are you going to do? Because, like, Shannon's having another attack. And he's like, well, I'm going to make him give me the inhalers. And Saeed's like, no, give me 10 minutes with him. I will, you know, like, stick things up his fingernails and he will talk. And Jack's like, yeah, that might be interesting to watch. Okay. So they go and they get Sawyer. Okay, so they tie him to a tree. And then Saeed takes reeds and, like, sticks them under his fingernails to try and get him to talk, make him tell him where the inhalers are. And finally, he's like, look, you know what, I'm only going to talk if you send Kate in here, because I'm going to try and get my Mac on. And Saeed's like, I'm okay with that, but I want to watch. No. Okay, so they agree to like, let Kate come in. But, so she comes along and is like, what? And he's like, how about that kiss? And so she's like, okay. And then she's like, okay, so where are they? And he's like, I don't have them. And she's like, oh, you're a pig. Like, I should have Locke hunt you. You're such a fucking pig. Okay. After they find out that Kate said, you know, he doesn't have the inhalers, Saeed's like, you know, like, for sure, I'm going to make him talk. Goes back, he just as Sawyer's finally, like, got himself free from the tree, they get into, like, this big cat fight, and they try and see, like, who has the longer hair. No, I'm kidding. They get into a little fight, and remember, Saeed has that knife that Locke gave him, and so they're, like, squabbling or whatever, and then on the ground, the knife accidentally goes into Sawyer's arm. Meanwhile, back at the caves, you know, Sun creeps over to Michael, and remember, he's the only one that knows that she speaks English at this point, and she's like, Michael, I can help the girl, you know, the one with the breathing problem, or at least the one who's, you know, heaving her breasts up and down, trying to get people to notice her. No, really. She has a breathing problem. So he goes out and, like, gets, like, eucalyptus, and she grinds it up, and then, like, smears it on Shannon's chest and, like, holds it under her nose to help her breathe better. And Jack, you know, comes along and is like, oh, wow, I'm really stupid. I guess I should have maybe, you know, taken herbology at Hogwarts or something. The entire episode, Charlie's been, you know, asking around for, like, any hidden supplies. He goes to Hurley and is like, he's like, you know, you're really big. You've got to have a hidden stash somewhere. And he's like, dude, seriously, don't bother me with that right now. Anyways, he comes to Claire and he has this empty jar. And he's like, I found you peanut butter. But she's like, Charlie, it's an empty jar. And he's like, no, it's the best peanut butter in the world. And she's like, no, Charlie, it's just an empty jar. I don't understand. And he's like, take the fucking peanut butter, eat it, bitch, and move to the caves. And she's like, oh, okay, well, maybe I will. All right. Sawyer wakes up and he's in his tent on the beach. Jack has repaired his arm, and Kate's sitting next to him, and she's like, you're lucky to be alive. And he's like, yeah, well, whatever. Oh, I forgot to draw his hair. It's all like, you know, like falling back. Anyway, she's like, I read your letter again. I hope you don't mind, because I was bored and I didn't like watching you breathe. She's like, I keep coming back to the same thing. You want people to hate you, and I was looking at this letter and found, and pretty much drew the conclusion that you wrote this letter as a child, and everything she said is true. And he's like, yeah, well, Freckles, whatever. The way that the episode ends, Saeed is gonna take off out of camp, and Kate's like, where are you going? He's like, I'm going to map the island, and I should not have tortured Sawyer because I vowed never to do that again. And so he's like gonna go off and see what there is to see.